for being with us for our first Capital Clubhouse virtual fundraiser. I'm Maria Nunez, Capital Clubhouse Executive Director. We hope this evening finds you and your loved ones healthy and safe. Every year, we look forward to updating our donors and supporters on the progress we've made in the past 12 months. Sadly, the past 6 months have been a struggle for everyone, and the challenges have been great. No one has been unaffected. The worst pandemic in a century, the worst economic collapse in nearly a century, and the most pronounced social unrest in half a century. For Capital Clubhouse, the shutdown orders issued in March were a cruel twist of fate. After 10 years of legal work, fundraising, preparation, and officially opening, we were forced to close the doors to our clubhouse. It was a sad day for our close community. And I remember thinking when we were packing up the office, how will our members cope with being forced to stay home? Isolation is what the clubhouse model is supposed to cure, not enforce. We didn't realize at the time the dedication of our members and their strong desire to keep our community alive. And our board members and supporters sprang into action, getting members the things they needed to adapt to a new virtual world. A computer or smartphone became a lifeline, the only way to stay connected while staying apart. The first few weeks of the shutdown were difficult, but then I was amazed to see some remarkable changes. Our virtual clubhouse was growing and evolving. Members not only got comfortable with the new technology, they embraced it. We started off with a 1-hour virtual meeting, which grew to 2 hours, and then another hour meeting in the afternoon. And we attracted new members. Together, we went from meeting 3 times a week in person to 5 days a week by Zoom. Our meetings are full and purposeful. The enforced separation seems to bring out the creativity in our community. Instead of producing a newsletter every 2 months, we've been producing one every month. Our social media presence was practically non-existent, but we now get new followers daily from all over the world. Members reach out to members, providing assistance and support. We've developed partnerships with AmeriCorps Vista, the Lutheran Volunteer Corps, and American University School of Public Health. If there is one thing that the pandemic has made crystal clear, it is the need for human connection. A need as basic as having enough water to drink or food to eat. How many of us, when separated from family and friends by the coronavirus, started paying attention to relationships that we formerly took for granted? Sadly, for many people suffering from mental health issues, isolation from family and community is a normal fact of life. Clubhouses change that, giving people a safe home, a new family of peers who understand their struggles, and the helping hand they need to re-enter the larger community. To kick off our program, we have asked 3 longtime Capital Clubhouse supporters and 1 member to talk about our theme, social justice for mental health, and the importance of clubhouses. Then we will announce the recipient of the Capital Clubhouse Mental Health Advocacy Award and have a Q&A with the awardee. Finally, 2 short films about Capital Clubhouse, 1 made by our members. Those will wrap up the program. First up is one of our earliest supporters, Patrick Kennedy. Patrick came to our first fundraiser in the living room of a board member over 7 years ago, when Capital Clubhouse was just a dream. Last year, we awarded Patrick the first annual Capital Clubhouse Mental Health Advocacy Award for his tireless efforts advocating for a stronger and more accessible healthcare system in the U.S., and his pioneering work on behalf of mental health parity. Hello, Patrick, and thank you so much for your continued support of Capital Clubhouse.
Hi, Capital Clubhouse. It's Patrick Kennedy. Great to have been with you a couple of years ago, and it's great to be with you now virtually. It's so important that mental health and social justice is finally upon us as we're seeing the fight for social justice take place across our country in so many facets of our life. We cannot forget that the fight for social justice for those who are facing mental health challenges is real, especially given the COVID crisis, which is bringing it to light as COVID's impact on our mental health is affecting every single family in this country. We need to address mental health in every facet of our government at the state and federal level and at the local level. But thank you, Capital Clubhouse, for setting a model of community mental health, which is really the hallmark of President Kennedy's community mental health vision, and which is really the goal, I think, for a renewed vision of what mental health should look like in this country: community-based, family-based, and support from those who have walked the walk of recovery, peer-based. So thank you all for what you do. Let's keep fighting to implement the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act. For those who are interested in learning more, you can go to thekennedyforum.org, and we have a number of resources that will help you make appeals when you've been denied insurance coverage. And we need to enforce this so that we have a situation where no longer are people discriminated against simply because their illness is an illness of the brain as opposed to another organ of their body. So thank you all. Keep up the great work, and I look forward to seeing you in the future when we all can get back together.
Hello, my name is Marilyn Benoit. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist and an adult psychiatrist. And I want to share with you a very special moment that I experienced listening to the Honorable Patrick Kennedy at the opening of the Menninger Clinic in Houston, Texas a few years ago. What stuck with me was that he spoke about his uncle, President John Kennedy, who was the pioneer who had the vision for exploring outer space. Then the Honorable Patrick Kennedy went on to speak about how he had the new vision of changing gears and actually beginning to lead a vision of exploring inner space. So what is inner space? Inner space he referred to was the brain. And I want to tell you that here is my brain that I have carried around with me for about 30 years. Why do I want to really focus on the idea of brain diseases? You know, as a doctor, we are so comfortable, and actually everybody is comfortable, talking about lung disease, kidney disease, heart disease, and any other sort of organ systems. But when it comes to the brain, it's as if we shy away from the idea that brain diseases manifest themselves as depression, schizophrenia, autism, bipolar disorder, addictions, anxiety disorders, and many more. How does this, what I call discrimination against brain diseases, manifest themselves? Well, I think through stigma and also the lack of parity in insurance companies paying for these diseases of the brain. The other area in which society actually manifests its lack of knowledge about these brain diseases is in some of those horrible incidents that we have seen recently and also in the past involving police intervention with victims who are suffering a mental illness crisis. For instance, just recently, we had in Rochester, New York, the gentleman David Trudy, who was actually naked in the cold, and unfortunately, this young man died secondary to some pretty aggressive and inappropriate police intervention. What we realize is that if we can do much more education and decrease the stigma against these brain diseases, that we should have a better community in which we can handle these types of incidents. This is where I come to the Capital Clubhouse. The Capital Clubhouse creates a safe, welcoming, comfortable location, a home away from home, so to speak, where people can meet each other and have a community of really feeling at home. I want to point out that we know, and I say we, all of society, and even in the medical profession, that one of the most profound healing things that can happen to us as human beings is connectedness to other people who care about us. That is what the Capital Clubhouse is about. It actually provides a life-saving safety web of a network of support for people. As a just society, we have a real moral obligation to reduce the stigma around mental illness and addictions. There absolutely is not enough funding. This is why places like the Capital Clubhouse need your help. We need to really open our wallets and provide the funding necessary to assist our members in that healing of their inner space, the brain. Thank you for your support.
Hello, Maria. I want to share two stories with you. The first is about a young woman who I met in Florida. She'd had an outstanding high school career, was well into college and enjoying herself when she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She became so sick that she had to drop out. During a manic episode, she was arrested by the police. She became one of the 2.2 million Americans who are booked into our jails and prisons every year. One of the 367,000 Americans in our jails and prisons who have a serious mental illness. When she was released, she became despondent. She considered suicide. Her parents were desperate. They heard about a clubhouse and they took her there. And she told me later that experience changed her life. I found people just like me, she said. They gave me hope. They showed me that I could recover. The second story is about an older woman I met in San Francisco who lived in an assisted living facility there, and the director told me every day she went out and she panhandled. He said she's from one of the richest families in town. She has a trust fund, so she gives all the money to the other members, but you should ask her why she goes out and panhandles. So I did. I said, why do you go out and face that kind of abuse every day in the streets? And she said to me, it's the only way I can get ordinary people to speak to me. Imagine being so isolated that the only way you can get someone to communicate with you, to talk to you, is by panhandling. You know, people say to me all the time, what do people with mental illness want? They want the same thing that all of us want. They want a safe place to live. They want a purpose in life, and they want someone to care and love. Capital Clubhouse does all three. It helps people find housing. It gives them a purpose in life because the clubhouse is run by people just like them. It teaches them pride and respect. And finally, it gives them someone to care about, and for those people to care about them. I am so proud that Capital Clubhouse is in our community, and I want to thank those who support it because you are saving and changing lives every day. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sonia Connolly, and I am a member of Capital Clubhouse, DC. 25 years ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. During that time, therapy and medication would be the primary means to manage my mental health and to control the mood swings, which could range from depressive lows to manic highs. My family, my friends, my church would become the foundation upon which my support system would rest. 3 important components to managing my disorder. But it wasn't until earlier this year when a friend invited me to a Capital Clubhouse orientation that I would find this foundation would change, grow, and become stronger in ways that I couldn't even begin to imagine. Prior to coming to Clubhouse, I was experiencing one of the worst depressive episodes since my diagnosis. I was anxious and afraid. And even before COVID-19, I didn't know what my future had in store for me. but meeting and working side by side with my peers and staff at Clubhouse, people that understand the mental health challenges that I face, put my feet firmly back on the path to recovery. The Clubhouse mission and standards showed me that even though I have a mental illness, that I'm still a functioning member of society and that that illness does not define me. By attending Clubhouse, first in person and then due to the pandemic virtually, I have been able to avoid the self-isolation, which would drive me into a deeper and deeper vortex of self-loathing and depression. Being a Clubhouse member has given me routine and a sense of community. The tasks that I work on at Clubhouse have kept my job skills sharp and kept me marketable. I've learned so much from my fellow Clubhouse members and staff, skills that I can take with me moving forward. Another benefit of being at Clubhouse is that I've gained a new self-appreciation for myself. This past June, I returned to work full-time with the members and staff of Clubhouse cheering me on every step of the way. I'd like to thank Maria Nunez, Executive Director for Capital Clubhouse, for inviting me to share my story, and for the Clubhouse supporters for listening.
Hello, my name is Yvonne Smith, and I'm the past president of the Capital Clubhouse of Washington, D.C., and a current board member. And I'm here today to announce the recipient of the Capital Clubhouse's Mental Health Advocacy Award, which is Kimberly Clark. And Kimberly Clark is the present division chief for the Public Defender's Office for Mental Health. For those of you who don't know what they do, is they protect persons who are vulnerable, who have mental health challenges, and who have a juxtaposition between the mental health system and the legal system. You may have seen some footage on the news of people being taken out by the police, which breaks your heart. Also, you may know of other community members who may have returned to the community after a few years or maybe decades of being in one of our public institutions. Well, Kimberly Clark and her staff attorneys, they listen to these people. They take the law into account, the mental health system, and they are there to make sure that their rights are taken into consideration when their freedoms is under threat. I'm very happy to say that Kimberly is very well respected in the legal profession and in the community, especially among peers and those people who are ex-patients and survivors. And this is a very good thing to have Kimberly to get this award from this organization. Thank you very much, Kimberly. Congratulations.
Thank you, Yvonne, for that beautiful introduction. I'm Jean Harris, a member of Capital Clubhouse Board of Directors and also president of NAMI DC. Kimberly, it's my honor to give you your award this evening.
Thank you, Jean. I am very honored to be here and to receive this award. It is truly a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Kimberly, I'm going to start right in and ask you what a public defender does.
So a public defender represents an individual who is facing a loss of liberty, typically in a criminal case. But in the case of the DC office, we have a mental health division. And in the mental health division, we represent individuals who are alleged to have a mental illness and are facing a loss of liberty, typically because of an involuntary hospitalization.
Kimberly, where did you get your passion for social justice? Did it come from your parents? Did they instill those values in you?
In a way, they did. I was raised by my grandmother here in the District of Columbia. My mom passed away when I was 5 years old. My father was in the military, and after the Vietnam War, he developed a heroin addiction and wasn't able to take care of my sister and myself. So my grandmother raised us. But my father, despite his addiction, was a wonderful man. He was kind, he was gentle, he had a beautiful smile. And so from a very early age, I realized that the labels that people wear don't define who they are. So it was very important to me growing up to look beyond people's labels of someone having an addiction or being mentally ill or being poor or being brown, and to see people as people and to treat them as people and make sure that they are valued as people. And so that's where my passion for social justice has come from. It's my lived experience of being able to see through labels and to just treat people as people.
Well, that's wonderful. So you're in the right job, and I wholeheartedly buy into that we need to put away the labels and see the individual as a person and go from there. Kimberly, what happens when a case comes to your shop?
My office, we're lawyers, and we represent our clients' express interests. So it's what that person wants. And sometimes what they want may not be the best thing, or it may not be what the doctors think is the best, but it is the client's expressed desire. So we stand as the client's advocate, and we stand to give them a voice and make sure that what their interests are heard.
Kimberly, what's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is making sure that I advocate for my client and that my client's voice is heard. So many times people in the district who have a mental illness are Black or brown, and they are poor. And because of that, they have so many strikes against them. They have a mental illness, they're a minority, and they live in poverty. And when I can advocate for them and ensure that their voice is heard, that is really the best thing. That's the best part of my job. So even times when we may not win the case, but my client tells me, thank you for speaking up for me, thank you for fighting for me, that's the best feeling.
Okay, now tell me, what's the worst part of your job?
The hard part.
Or the hard part.
There are few, but I think the hardest is when I see a client who is really struggling with their recovery. Someone who has really committed to treatment, wants to be better, but doesn't respond to medications, because medications don't always provide 100% recovery for individuals. And I think it is especially hard when you have someone who really wants to get better and is doing everything in their power to get better, but they just don't respond well to the medication. And so they still struggle with symptoms of their mental illness. And that's hard to see.
Kimberly, you and I both know right now that the police involvement in mental illness is a high question, complaints and concern with everyone. Family members are sometimes reluctant to call police because they are fearful of the outcome of that encounter. And police are many times concerned because they are not sure what they're going into. Could you give me or give us some idea of what your thoughts are on that? how and what way can the family, as well as the individual, as well as the police, all of them be comfortable in some essence? And what will bring that comfort, you think?
I think there are a lot of things that we as a society and the District of Columbia in particular can do. The first thing we need to think about is how we should stop criminalizing mental illness. Oftentimes when the police are responding to a mental health crisis, they see it more as a criminal issue than they do an actual mental health issue. So we should stop having police respond to mental health crises and have social workers and clinicians be the first responders when there is a mental health crisis. And I know the district has made some strides in terms of training police officers and certifying them to intervene in a way that de-escalates situations, and we've made some progress. But there's still a lot of overcriminalization of mental illness. A lot of cases that come to my office, the police have to make a decision about whether or not to charge the behavior criminally or to view it as a mental health crisis. And we strive to encourage the Department of Behavioral Health and MPD to think of strategies where they can divert behaviors out of the criminal justice system and into the mental health system. For instance, someone who is panhandling in front of a 7-Eleven and they've been barred from the 7-Eleven. And so now the owner wants them arrested for unlawful entry. That's not really a crime that is harmful, right? Sometimes it's unpleasant for the other customers, but we shouldn't be criminalizing poverty and we shouldn't be criminalizing mental health. And so when police arrive, if they have to respond, they need to be armed with alternatives to arrest and incarceration and be able to divert those individuals to the mental health system.
I like your answer. I'm in agreement with that. I think we cannot turn police officers into social workers. Many of them do not desire to be social workers. And I think we do need to have more conversations within the cities and within our government as to how we're going to deal with mental illness versus criminalization, and how we're going to think about how we're going to move forward in the future. St. Elizabeth is the only public mental health hospital in the District of Columbia. And like many states and cities all over the country, public mental health hospitals have been shut down. And so in them are people that have no other resources but to be there. They are people of color, they're mostly people of low income. What can you do, or what does your office do to help the people that are there and have been there a long time, maybe will never come out, their rights while they're there? What do you do in those situations?
My office does represent individuals who've been committed to St. Elizabeth's for a number of years. And it is our mission to make sure that our clients don't stay and languish there a minute longer than they need to. So we attend meetings, we file petitions for court, we ensure that their rights are protected. And we do that because we believe that it's the right thing to do. Our clients are entitled to legal representation and zealous representation even after there's an order for their commitment to St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and we take that very seriously. I have a client now that I've represented for a number of years. He spent 24 years at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and when he was released, still under court order, but able to live in the community, the biggest challenge for him was having a social network. His family was not involved in his life at that point, and he really struggled to figure out who his friends were, to figure out how he was going to be a citizen in the district. And I was so afraid that he was gonna do something to get back to the hospital because he missed the environment, he missed having friends. And I worried that he was going to kind of self-sabotage just so he could go back. And I think that's one of the reasons why Clubhouse is so important, because people need to have that social interaction. They need to have a place where they can go and just be themselves without judgment, and be able to have that social network, especially when they've been in the hospital for so many years.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, that the Clubhouse is probably the best model where that can occur and the person will have a sense of freedom to be able to make the choice of whether or not to participate and not, for maybe the first time in many years in their whole life, and make some decisions on their own. Thank you for spending time with us, Kimberly, and answering the questions and allow me to interview you to get more information. I learned things, and I'm sure others did as well. So again, thank you and congratulations on your award. Well earned.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
Hello, my name is Max Van Praag. I'm a Capital Clubhouse supporter and on this year's benefit committee. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. You know, even after watching this program, some of you still might be wondering what really goes on behind Capital Clubhouse doors. What do members do all day? We hope these two short, uplifting films that end our program will provide the answer. We also hope that after watching, you will consider donating to help support the important work Clubhouse does. And one more thing, please check out our silent online auction delivered to your door that has over 50 amazing items, some of which have never been offered to the public. Let's take a look behind Clubhouse doors, shall we?
In Clubhouse, we like to say that people leave their diagnosis at the door. So because they're not receiving any kind of clinical services, there's not a psychiatrist here, they're not getting one-on-one therapy here or anything like that. The therapeutic value is from coming in and being just a part of a group and working together every day.
So everybody's been here before, so we've talked about what is the Clubhouse, but does anybody want to say anything about that again?
I know the Clubhouse is a place where I have a reason to wake up in the morning, you meet, you meet friends and stuff like that, and learn how to work together.
Oh, perfect. That's really great.
Well, it's a beautiful place to be, meet good people, very nice.
Capital Clubhouse is an organization that serves adults with serious mental illness, and we create a place where people can come where they belong, where they can make friends, be productive, and achieve whatever goals they have to achieve.
You were doing a good job, Marcia.
Thank you.
You have talent you didn't even know you had.
Okay. I'm making triplets.
They're coming here to practice using their strengths and skills, or maybe discover what their strengths and skills are. Learning to be a little handier in the kitchen. I can do more than use a can opener. How do I cut an onion without crying? That's always a great discussion among members and staff. And so we're actually learning from each other.
No, I don't think so. Wow. All right, that's it.
That was a little better. That was a little better. Some of the members are living with mental disorders, like myself. And I come to Capital Clubhouse because I just like to keep busy and also stimulate my mind. I'm not worried about people judging me.
Nice, trivet number 2.
At Clubhouse, the people that come in, they're not clients, they're not patients, they're not consumers, they're members. And so it's their clubhouse. So members and staff work together side by side, that's part of the model, to achieve what needs to be achieved for the clubhouse. So every day we fix lunch together, we're putting a newsletter together. Everything that has to do with the clubhouse, members and staff do it together.
Is there another box after this?
That is the last box.
Okay.
Yeah, you've done solid work on the snow pea operation. Remember when you first got here, Brenda?
The first day.
Not too experienced, right?
Right. The first day, I was a little nervous because I wasn't, in my comfort zone. And so, as I started doing, more I in the kitchen, the more comfortable I got.
It's interesting because for people with mental illness, when they're really doing really poorly, obviously the community wants to engage them in services. And all of those things revolve around being a patient. And people want a different kind of role than that. I mean, once you start feeling better, you don't want to always just be focused on being a patient. And so that's what Clubhouse wants to see is that person really begin to fulfill a different role in their life. The role of friend, the role of worker, of student. But here it's not the role of patient. It's the role of someone who is like anybody else, making friends and achieving something.
They always expect something more and more. Like even the executive director, Maria, will ask me my opinion on something. And we have a place to come so we can do something, we can be part of an organization. And right now we're building it. We get to direct where it's going.
Bye, Michael.
Good work today. Next time. Until next time.
Until next time.
So we're just getting started. We're really eager to be fully open. And eventually, we do hope to see other clubhouses opening in DC.